Welcome again to 0K. The last time I talked about this free RTS game, I explained some common mistakes for new players to make. In that video, I mentioned I would make a second video on the different unit classes featured in 0K. But you might be wondering, what is a unit class? Is it which factory I place down, or how the unit moves? No! You see, each unit of each factory has its own specific use. This is what the class system is for. It's a helpful name to tell what the unit is best used for. That said, there are some exceptions to these classes. I'll showcase some, but I'll be leaving out the more meta-based ones, since I'm not an expert on that, and those could be patched out any day. So please, do note that these classes are somewhat broad in their descriptions, but I guarantee that knowing them will help you, especially if you're starting out. First, some icons. These help identify classes from afar. The icons are unique to each class and will appear if you zoom out far enough. I'll place the icons for each class I go over down here. These icons are the quickest way to determine a unit's class. Typically, the unit's description also tells you their class. Let's start with a straightforward example, anti-air. Anti-air is self-explanatory. The unit specializes in taking down air units but can't do anything about ground units. Although some non-anti-air units can shoot at aircraft, anti-air units usually outrank them in either damage or range to flying targets. Next is artillery. Although bringing along some exceptions, the artillery class is essentially the anti-air for stationary targets, specializing in heavy-hitting projectiles and range. Defenses will get blasted by a smart artillery player. However, since most artillery units use slow-moving projectiles, any targets coming towards them are a problem, even dirt boxes. Although the slow-moving projectiles of artillery are usually aimed at buildings, our first couple of exceptions appear. Both the Firewalker and Tremor spread their fire in an area, creating a bombardment zone that chips away at units. If you gather intel that there's a blob of enemies nearby, napalming your northern enemies with Firewalkers might be a good idea. Since artillery units are not very mobile and quite expensive, something else should be defending them. That something should be a mix of these three classes. These three make up the typical structure of a 0K army. They all sort of fit together and form the rock paper scissors system 0K runs on. These classes are Raiders, Riots, and Skirmishers. Raiders, I think, are typically the most microed units in 0K. They tend to have three roles: abusing stranded economy buildings, harassing undefended, more expensive units, and acting as a fast-moving form of defense. So, switching between these roles requires a lot of attention. Just think of little piranhas around an aquarium when someone drops a one-shot $1 million railgun in the tank. These units are also extremely cheap, so raider spam is quite common. Next up is the Riot.
Are you tired of dealing with spammy units? Are you finding yourself to be constantly swarmed by little robots? Do you wish you could mow down enemies quicker?
There's got to be a better way.
Introducing the Riot Bot. Lightning quick DPS. Reliably cost effective. Make those unit blobs disappear. Heck, you could even make some anti-air out of them. Enlist some Riot units today.
The Outlaw bot is not defective. It slowly damages units in its area of effect and also inflicts a slowness status. Do not solely rely on the Outlaw. An Outlaw is an effective unit when paired with other units. Riot units are very slow and have poor range. Do not use Riot bots only. Do not approach defenses with only Riot bots. Do not approach skirmishers with only Riot bots.
Riot bots! The best solution for that prickhead who won't stop spamming the same goddamn.
That's a skirmisher bot. They just kinda shoot things from afar. There's the fencer who has to stand still to shoot, which can be annoying if you just want to select and click to delete stuff, but they're all just ranged units. That's it. If you've been paying attention, you can see how these classes overpower another. Raiders have barely any range or health, so they get mowed down if they get close to a riot bot. But at the same time, they can outmaneuver and outnumber slower, more expensive skirmisher bots. Meanwhile, the skirmishers simply outrange riot bots, killing them miles away before riot bots can even get close. Honestly, knowing just these three will help you win more often. They're so common in games that you might have just adapted the proper counters anyway. However, there are still more classes to talk about, like the Assault class. Originally, I had the Assault class within the Rock, Paper, Scissors system. After more thinking, Assault is the class for the people who choose to go Rock, Paper, Scissors, Gun. These units are incredibly slow, pack a punch, and have loads of health. I excluded them because they don't really have hard counters. Here's what I mean. Skirmishers can shoot them from afar, but assault units could just take the blow. Riot bots could get close and do damage, but the M1 Abrams might just blast them away before they get near. And the little raider bots could swarm them to death, but not having enough is like a child scratching at your basement door. However, most units will just outrun the assault bot. That's why they're called assault. They should be focused more on stationary targets and raiding bases. Next up, the scout. Aww. This is the raider's younger brother. If you couldn't tell by the name, these guys also like speed. They're even cheaper and weaker than the raider, usually only taking one shot to kill them. If you have undefended economy structures, you can bet these pests will chip away at your resources. They can also scout ahead to see what your enemy is up to. Supports are just skirmishers with some caveats. There are only 3 of them. Fencers actually go here because they stay still to shoot. Lances fire a high damage laser. And felons use the power of shields. I don't get it either. The rest of the classes are self-explanatory. Here are their icons anyway, in case you want to know them. I hope you know how these units gel by now. If you want a more detailed guide, check out the wiki. They could always use some love. That's it from me. My friends and I haven't been playing this game as much anymore, so I wouldn't plan on seeing another 0K video soon. Unless you really want it. Genuinely though, thanks for watching. Now that some life stuff is done, I'll have more time to make videos. I just didn't want to do anything else till this was done. Unless...